So this one's gonna be again about evolutionary psychology. There is a spider on my wall. Well, yeah. I actually, by the way, hate killing like insects and shit. I really don't like that. I just think like, please don't go down. Please don't make me kill you. Please go away. Come on. Go away, please. Just because, like, I mean, they're also living and I just really don't want to kill them. But if they're just really bothering me, sometimes I really, really try to not do that. Then I have to do something. Please go away, man. Well, I'm just, I'm going to do the thing. There's going to be more after the intro, as always. As we're used to the podcast. And yeah. I appreciate, by the way, you being on a podcast. I really do. Every single person that is on the podcast is even like listening to 1 millisecond of the podcast. I appreciate that. It really means a lot to me because it is quite some work that I'm putting into this. And I really do hope that I'm able to do something for somebody, doing something interesting to somebody. Please go away. Please go away. Come on. Actually having like, I don't really want to hurt you, but it's kind of close to to me. Like it's like a meter. Please go away. Come on, please. Did I kill you? I think I have. Oh my god. I hate that. I really do. But before I even want to go through the episode, and even before I want to go through what is necessary to talk about, actually, I do want to remind you that being a nice person and being a person that is fun to be around with, which doesn't mean that you're drinking a lot, which doesn't mean that you're just a funny person. It means just to oh, no, I haven't killed you. Please go away anyway. Please go away. Come. Shh. Go away. Please. I don't want to hurt you, and I just also know that you don't want to bother me, but just please don't bother me then. Yeah, that's right. Go away. Anyway, just be a good person. Just be a nice person, because there's only good things about being a good person. Only. People are going to like you more. You're going to like you more. You're going to have a more easy life. Probably you're going to have a better life. You're going to have just a more successful life because people like to be around people that are nice. Nobody wants to be around a fucking asshole. Nobody wants that. And you should therefore also not do that. But of course, like, I do understand that in some situations in life, we tend to not be like the best person we can be. And this is fine. And we shouldn't judge ourselves based on that, because we know that it is sometimes the case. We know that sometimes when we are in stressful situations that, we sometimes, at least this is the case for me, I tend to just be not as a good person as I could be. And it is something that bothers me. Of course, it really does. But yeah, just keep in mind that being a nice person is something that's fucking cool. I really think that this is a cool thing to be. It's not about just having money and shit, even though that's cool as well. But just being a nice person, being a generous person, being a person that is fun to be around with, that's a pretty cool thing. Please check out the description. This is the part where I'm just illustrating what's important. Please check out the description if you're on the podcast, and also if you're on the YouTube channel, or the YouTube video, because it is necessary, because there's going to be a lot of value in there. So it's basically just something good for you. It's not even something good for me, kind of, unless you're interested in the other social media sites that I'm having, or the blog, my articles, and all those things. You can check it out. But just please, there's only going to be value for you, at least as far as I think. Yeah. I think the last time I said, this is maybe going to be the last episode, so this one is not going to be. Never, ever. It might be like I don't know, I think it is like one of 3, I guess. Could be. Yeah. Towards a unified evolutionary psychology. In the last chapter of Evolutionary Psychology by David Buss, which is the book that I'm talking about, or we're talking about, and I do want to say that if this is like, please go away, motherfucker. Really, go away. I do want to point out that if this is the first episode that you're listening to, then it is fine. Every single episode is good by itself. You don't really have to just listen to everyone, even if it just somehow makes sense for some points, but not entirely. Please go away. No, please go away. And now I've heard something. I really hope that I didn't hurt you or stuff. I'm sorry. And all this is on cam and on record. I'm sorry. I really am sorry for this spider. It was a really, really tiny spider. Well, anyway, you don't really listen or have to listen to every one of these. So, but if you feel like you can, but I do just want to point out that you don't necessarily have to do this. So David Buss talks about the many overlapping fields of psychology and the lack of a unifying force. He says that evolutionary psychology should be that discipline that ties all the different specializations together, or however it is pronounced, I don't know. And I couldn't agree more. He also partly, or whatever, and tactfully criticizes the effort of cognitive psychology to hunt for cognitive biases, saying that they're not really biases but simply evolved shortcuts that work well for most our evolution and most of our problems. So why shouldn't we be using them? Unless in like really big parts it is something that's not that of a good thing, then I can understand it. But for cognitive biases, see Thinking Fast and Slow, which is a book, a pretty good one by Daniel Kahneman. It is Daniel, like Daniel, and Kahnemann, or Kahneman, as if you would be pronouncing it in German, actually. But we're not doing this here. We're certainly not doing this here. Finally, Buss introduces a few more interesting theories, including attachment theory. For more on attachment theory, see an overview of attachment theory. It might be an article. I am actually going to look it up because I'm interested. Is it? Yeah, it is an article. Maybe even a book. Is it a book? No, it's an article. Because the author of this book summary is actually a pretty short one. Well, you reached the 9 articles limit I can offer you this month, which is not good. Which really is not good, which means that if I have to reload this page for any fucking reason, I'm going to be fucked. So I'm going to save the page to just be safe, basically. Yes, I don't know if I should actually, maybe I should. This one, I guess. I think this is the most important part. So everything that I'm going to highlight is then going to be in a PDF, and you can download this PDF and read it so that you're having everything in one space and you do not have to care about like resources basically for learning it or for just, I mean, if you're just interested in it, you can just download it for free and do whatever with it. Print it as well. You can also really print it. So Buss, of course, puts attachment theory within the wider lenses of evolutionary psychology. He says, for example, that the variations from a secure attachment represents children's adaptation to non-optimal familial environments. Avoidant attachment adapts to parents unwilling to invest, while anxious attachment adapts to parents who is unable to invest, and which leads to more short-term mating strategies, apparently. Which is quite of an interesting thought, I'd say. But yeah, more wisdom, which is I think this is a section that the author of the summary did, because I think one of the biggest problems with having a summary or with going through a summary or with actually writing a summary is that there's going to be a lot of things that you don't know how to categorize, which is, by the way, the people from this website, they're just really doing such a great job at categorizing everything, because like everything is categorized. Like there is chapters, there is like other things like this one, if there is just a lot of information that is important and is cool to know, but there's just no way to structure it in a good way or in a different way. They're really doing a good part. And also the website is pretty cool. Everything is readable. Everything is nice. It looks kind of great, everything is fine. And I really do appreciate that. And I really do wanted to point it out. So more wisdom. And I'm actually going to highlight the whole one because I think it is kind of cool. The dark triad predicts deception. And deception means duplicity, double dealing, fraud, fraudulence, cheating. The dark triad predicts cheating, basically. Dark triad traits predict deception and sexual harassment. See best dark triad books. And I've then looked it up because I was interested, what is the dark triad? And I have found something. And the dark triad, the dark triad or triad. I think it's triad. It's TRIAD. And it consists of psychopathy, narcissism, and Machiavellism. Psychopathy, I think, is just kind of clear, and people know about that. Narcissism, I think, as well. As far as I know, it is like, isn't it arrogant and only think about yourself or selfishness? I'm gonna look it up. Narcissism, because I don't want to really have the real quote unquote definition. Yeah, it's called definition. Excessive interest in or admiration of oneself and one's physical appearance. Well, yeah, it's not really being selfish, since being selfish only just is like, okay, I'm gonna care about myself, and the only thing that I'm gonna care about is myself, and I am just the most important person. But this is more like, okay, I really love myself. I really am into myself, basically, as well. And Machiavel, oh, it's already there. Machiavellism in psychology refers to a personality trait which sees a person so focused on their own interests that they will manipulate, deceive, and exploit others to achieve their goals. Which I guess, like, I do have to say, like, as I'm reading it, it is not like a really staggering one. It's not like just such an incredibly fucked up thing that people, some people are doing, but I really think that this is something that quite a lot of people are doing. And I do have to say, like, if you're thinking about, like, these all are just traits that seem not to be, like, they're good. And I think, it just makes sense that if you're just seeing this in a person, then yes, what can you expect? Probably not a lot of good things. So maybe think about that. Psychopathy as a strategy. Psychopaths pursue a cheating strategy that can be rewarding as long as there are enough cooperators in the system. Psychopaths pursue a cheating strategy especially with interaction partners who are less attractive and those who they don't expect to interact with in the future. Really interesting. Also see why psychopaths get laid more. Well, I do have to say that the connotation that is attached to psychopathy and being a psychopath is really a difficult, in terms of a hard one. Like, just being called a psychopath is not going to be a cool thing. I do really connotate something, or I do think about, like, mentally ill people when I'm just hearing psychopathy, or if I'm also thinking about psychopaths and psychopathy. But I don't really think that this is like the real quote unquote definition that we're having of psychopaths or psychopaths. But yeah, sexual selection has two modes. Sexual selection operates on two levels: the intrasexual competition for access to mates and intersexual selection, selection or mate choice, which can also be conflictual at times. See intersexual conflict. The intrasexual and intersexual. What is intrasexual? There is nothing. Maybe I'm gonna look it up. I do try to. And by the way, shout out to. I do not know if I can name you, if I should name you, but I always appreciate if people come up to me and be like, I think it is. Even if it is like, I think it is crazy what you're doing, because you're doing such a lot of things. I still think that it is just quite nice to hear, and I also just enjoy. It's not really about the admiration, even though this is something that I really think is something that's cool to have. Like, if people really admire you, if they think you're just a cool person, you're just an amazing person, something like that. Not only just based on whatever you have achieved, but also just in terms of which person you are or which type of person you are. But I do really appreciate that, and I do want to point this out in public and on record once again. And I really do appreciate that. So thank you. If you're hearing this, maybe you're actually hearing this, it would be amazing. Thank you. Really, really, really thank you. But something that led to also thinking about, or that this led to thinking about basically, is that we shouldn't care too much about the positive feedback that we are getting. Because the more we are just focusing and the more we are caring about the positive feedback, the more we are also going to care about the negative one. Which means that if somebody comes up to me and is like, well, I really like what you're doing. I really like your stuff. I really love it. It's like a contribution to my life, something like that. And if I feel like, well, this is just amazing. And if this is making my day, if this is just something essential for just being happy, for example, as well, then it's going to be staggering. It's going to be not a good thing if somebody comes up to me and is like, well, I don't like your stuff. I don't like what you're doing. I don't like what you're talking about. It's going to be something that I'm really going to think about. It is going to be something that I'm going to hate to hear. And it is going to be more difficult. And it is going to be not a nice thing to have, because I'm probably going to be devastated. I'm probably not going to be in a pretty good mood if something like this is happening. Therefore, just being in the middle, kind of. And of course, we are going to be influenced by outside things. But we can really try to just be in the middle and be in our lane and just think about like what we think about the stuff that we are doing. And yeah. And just really being like, I don't want to also say neutral, because this is like just sounds so passive and sounds so kind of sad and shit. It really does. Well, anyway, sexual selection. There's actually a Wikipedia article. I probably also think that whatever I've been talking about in the last like 7 episodes, whatever it has been, there is like, there should be like everything here as well. I also see Darwinism, which is also something that we've been talking about. So yeah, if you're interested in that, and it actually seems to be quite something interesting. So sexual selection is a mode of natural selection in which members of one biological sex choose mates of the other sex to mate with, which is intersexual selection, and compete with members of the same sex for access to members of the opposite sex, which is intrasexual selection. Which means that I'm selecting to fight with somebody because I think that this is gonna just help me to get, in my case, a female now. I mean, it makes sense. It really makes sense, you know? But what I really have to think about in that way, and I really have to think about it, and I really have to imagine it, I really have to just actually picture a fucking picture, or whatever it's called, I don't know. When I'm thinking about it, I'm actually thinking about a male beating up another male so that they look good to females. Which, by the way, is something that we are seeing in this just in the now as well. You know, nowadays we're also seeing that really often. You know, people that are just having a quote-unquote cool car with loud music and they're just driving through the streets. There's going to be a lot of attention. There's going to be a lot of whatever. Maybe because of, like, females. Maybe. You know, I don't know. Like, this is just an assumption. It's just a thought that I'm having. But also, like, actually picking fights. I think this is still the case. Like, picking fights just to look cool to the females. Even though I don't really know if this is just making you look cool to the females or even to the males if you're into that. You know, I don't give a shit whatever you're into too. I don't know. I would actually not like to have that, basically, because I think it is a stupid thing to do in just nowadays. I think nowadays there are other ways to impress somebody. It still depends on whom you're trying to impress, of course, because, well, no, I'm not going to get into that, but some people just are going to go for a person that's really successful, and some people are actually going to go for a person that picked the fight and won. You know, and you then have to actually decide which person you should be into do, kind of. The best quotes, and I think it is actually one quote. Quotes in this case are not necessarily inspirational, but they are a good wake-up call. And the quote is, and I hope that I'm going to read it in a good way. So, yeah. These homicide data are preliminary, of course, but they suggest that there are risks of being the less valued party in the parent-child relationship. I basically don't really know what what it is willing to tell me. Is homicide murder? He was charged with homicide. The killing of one person by another. He was charged with homicide. Oh, yeah. Basically, it is. Or homicide. I'm very sorry. These homicide data are preliminary, of course, but they suggest that there are risks of being the less valued party in the parent-child relationship. Is it like back in just... If we go back in evolution, that it's been like, okay, if you're just the less valued one, chances of being killed aren't that low? Is this what he's referring to? Is this what he's talking about? It could be. It basically could be. Evolutionary psychology is, and we are now in the criticism section of the whole summary, which is quite often the case. But most often, I guess, there's also pro and con. But I could also be just kind of mixing it up with another side, with the Paul minus side that I'm also often on for book summaries. It could be, I don't know. Well, criticism. Evolutionary psychology is a monumental work. These are the small notes I took on a site that left me wondering sometimes. And there's actually quite a lot of things that he wondered about and he also thought about, which I guess just makes sense. Like, it is a relatively long book with more than 500 pages. There's just going to be some things that also everyone is not really agreeing with, I'd say. There's just always going to be something. And I think we also shouldn't judge a book. Well, I mean, like, if the book is only consisting of things that you don't agree with, then I don't know. Maybe you do just have to think about your opinion, and you do have to you have to do something about your opinion. But maybe it is also just like, okay, this is my opinion, this is your opinion, and then we are all kind of right, and we all are kind of wrong, and it is what it is. But just knowing what the other person is thinking and or just focusing on just also makes sense to some degree. A low battery. Really, indeed, is low battery. I should use my charger, you know? I, by the way, really like laptops or just notebooks or notebooks. Because I think it is just a cool thing. Like, you're having quite some power. Hopefully enough power for doing whatever you're doing. I certainly am having enough power for fucking recording something, which actually takes up quite some power, but I'm able to do that. But I'm also having a MacBook, which I'm just really fortunate to have, like, really, and I really do, I often think about the fact that I'm able to do so much with this. I'm able to do basically everything with this. A lot of people are not just taking care of that or not just taking advantage of that, which is kind of a pity, and they're only using it for fucking watching Netflix. You don't need a fucking MacBook for fucking watching Netflix. Maybe just because it looks cool on the fucking snaps that you're gonna just send your potential mating partners or sexual partners. Well, you know, also really something to talk about. Like, if you're just so into brands because they're just doing something to you, that they are just making you look a certain way to other people, then your fucking shit is broken. Because then we really have to think about and also actually talk about, and I'm not trying to be mean and shit, but then we really have to think about confidence and self-confidence and being confident in who you are. Because, like, if you're just only able to just feel good when you're basically, like, just wearing a certain brand, which is only based on the fact that we are viewing this as a certain thing. If you're wearing a Gucci belt or whatnot, then people know it is a Gucci belt. At least some people know. The thing is, if nobody knows that it is a Gucci belt, you're not going to wear one. You know, you're not going to wear one. Because there is no fucking reason why you would, you know? You know, there's no status reason. You know, there's no fucking reason why you would be doing this, you know? But of course, if people know this is a Gucci belt, then they're also gonna just be like, well, it is a Gucci belt. You know, it is amazing. And it is cool that you're having a fucking Gucci belt. But if they don't know it, they don't care. It's the same thing with sports. Sports is only there because people are fucking watching it. Which, by the way, is something also that Marshall McLuhan, if I remember that correctly, was somehow talking about, which has been actually one of the most interesting things that I've had a look in class at. Well, anyway, you know, let's go through the first point of the criticism part today, and the rest is going to be left for the probably last one then, I guess. Over-explanation of what might just be randomness, ? Evolutionary psychology has been criticized for being an after-the-events exercise of nice-sounding narratives with little science. I think people who say that don't really understand evolutionary psychology or human nature, but that doesn't mean that at times evolutionary psychologists don't tend to over-explain things. Yes. For example, I found the explanation of humans drinking alcohol as a byproduct of our taste for ripe fruits to be quite an unsubstantiated stretch. What does that even mean? unconfirmed, unsupported, uncorroborated, not backed up by evidence. At least I would have liked a note saying that some of these correlations were more speculative. Yes, would be nice. But I mean, like, there's always some kind of a reason why something could be the case, and I think this is what he means by over-explaining things and maybe also overthinking things in a little bit of a different context now. But but I think, in terms of the taste of ripe fruits or the taste for ripe fruits, like, I mean, I think we do like sweet things because ripe fruits are also sweets. That's actually pretty, but also, well, not really, because we don't like bitter things because they're more likely to be toxic, which just totally makes sense. Kind of, I guess. Well, I do want to just talk about that a little tiny bit now. If you're thinking about it, do we believe that something that's bitter is toxic because it is bitter? Well, it is just really difficult to explain that now. Like, it is bitter, yes, and if we are tasting that, then we think or we don't like that just because we think that it could be toxic, or it seems to be the case that some things in the past have been bitter or tasting this way, and they have been toxic. Or is it like, because the thing is, we have to experience that to know that, It's just something that our body basically made up, It's not like bitter and just tasting bitter is not something that was given to us by nature. It's not something that a lot of animals are having. I think it's only that we are having it. Maybe they just have different senses to see that or notice things that are toxic. But it's actually pretty difficult to explain. I think I have to make up my mind a tiny bit. But maybe you've just grabbed the thought or grabbed a snippet of my thought that led you to also thinking in similar ways. I don't know. I really don't know. But yeah, this is going to be the end of the episode, I guess, because we're already 28 minutes in. I tend to actually record longer in the past few weeks, which means that I'm liking more what I'm doing, which is a big part, because not every episode is a cool episode to record. Well, anyway, I wish you the best health, of happiness, and also success, and also hope that you're going to remind yourself and you're going to be remembered, which basically means a legacy, which basically means just being a nice person, than just being remembered as a nice person. On the other hand, 3 questions that I'm having for you are: why are you here? What are you trying to change? And what is bothering you the most? These 3 questions are hopefully going to show you your purpose and maybe even a business idea. So it really depends. But yeah, gonna see you the next time. Maybe even subscribe to the podcast and or the YouTube channel. I would appreciate that. But yeah, gonna see you the next time. I at least hope. And thank you very much. I do really appreciate every single person, every single minute, every single second, every single thought of clicking on a video or just a podcast or something. But yeah, I appreciate that. I just want to let you know. I'm gonna see you the next time.